Today, I would like to talk about how to handle toxic family dynamics. So, this can be at Christmas, over the festive period, or it can be at birthdays and family gatherings like weddings and celebrations. So, first of all, I would like to talk about how we can have people in our family who have toxic traits. They may be very combative, they may be very narcissistic, and it's about developing ways of coping with that and ways of making sure that you're protecting yourself when you're in these situations. So, what I would say is the importance is prioritizing your mental health and setting boundaries. So, sometimes we will actually choose not to go into these social situations with our family members that have toxic traits and that are difficult to handle. And that is okay if you've got to a point where you feel that you can't actually be in their company and it's too difficult, then that's actually okay to say that and get to a point where you take yourself out of the equation completely. However, there are some things that you can do to try and handle the situation before it gets to that point. So, toxic behaviour comes in different forms. So, it could be criticism, it could be someone trying to manipulate you, it can be gaslighting, it can be someone trying to control you, someone shaming you because you're not doing what they want you to do, they're not doing what you want them to do, or people overstepping your boundaries. People can be quite hostile. People who are hostile often have toxic traits, and when they are acting in that way from a hostile place, it's actually not about you, it's actually about them. So when people are acting like this, they're acting from unresolved trauma, insecurities, and usually from things that have happened in their past. Now, this doesn't excuse their behaviour. It definitely doesn't excuse their behaviour. People should not be treated in a hostile manner. People should not be treated in a toxic way by someone who is meant to love you and care about you. But it means that when you think about it in that way, it can give you more understanding of the situation. So it doesn't excuse their behaviour, but it can show you why they may be behaving in the way that they are. So quite often when an adult acts like this, it means that they've not healed something from their past. And then what they're doing is they're projecting that onto you. So if you can shift the perspective before you go into a family gathering or a family event or Christmas and New Year, and you can change your perspective on how that person's acting, sometimes it can really make you step out of the situation and distance yourself from what happens. And it's not about you, it's about them. So when we feel attacked and we feel triggered by the person in question, it's really good to look at why you're being triggered or what is happening when you're being triggered. So you can use this for self-reflection. You can work out why you're being triggered, what is the thing that's triggering you. And quite often family members and people that are close to us know how to push our buttons. So if you can take a step back and look at the feelings that are going on and looking at the triggers that are happening for you, it's very helpful to then identify what's going on inside you and therefore how you can react differently. When you know you're going into a situation with someone like this, it's good to plan out a response ahead of time. So plan to distance yourself from the situation emotionally. Use mindfulness to become present in the moment and focus on your breathing and self-soothing. And that can help you gain some control in the situation before you react. So you want to look at how you are feeling before you actually say anything or before you actually react to what the person's saying. If you work on your peace and happiness when you're being triggered, if you look at trying to bring yourself down from that trigger and understand where you are, use mindfulness and start to breathe in that moment, it can really help you handle the situation. This can then help you break the cycle of reactivity, because when you're triggered, quite often you are reactive. You're reacting from an upset place, an emotional place, and that can be very difficult to handle. And Actually, not responding or taking a deep breath and giving space and not responding is actually a response, and it can actually take the heat out of a situation with a toxic person. Before you go into a situation with family and a situation like one of these gatherings, which can be triggering for you, it's really important to prepare mentally before you go. So look at grounding techniques, deep breathing, visualization. You can also look at visualizing yourself not reacting and breathing through the situation with that person and looking at keeping calm in that situation. Using affirmations can be really helpful. So, affirming to yourself that it's not about you, it's about them, and it's about them reacting to something that's not in your control and that really is not about you. And if you can distance yourself from how they're reacting and the way they're speaking to you, it can be really helpful and can stop you reacting so emotionally. If you can focus on what you can control rather than the other person, because you can't change the other person, you can't change how they react to people, you can't change how they project themselves or how they deal with people. All you can do is control what you can control. So let go of what you can't control and look at what you can change. So that can be shifting your attention to speaking to the people that you do get on with, that you do really connect with, looking at who you see that brings you joy and happiness, that brings you connection, looking at things like Christmas movies that you watch or nice food that you cook, and really putting your focus on what you can control and what's important to you. And that can really give you a bit of a shift and put you in a better place to put yourself into these situations so that you are reacting from a happier place and you are keeping your mental health as tip top as you can. What I would say is it's really important to remember that it's not your job to fix everyone else. So it's about taking responsibility for yourself and your own safety in these situations. So limiting your exposure to toxic family members can be really important. Be realistic about what you can handle. Sometimes you have to avoid these people, sometimes you can spend a small amount of time with these people, but it's about looking at making sure you know what's okay for you and what's not. So having an exit strategy or a plan is really important. So how long are you going to stay in that situation? If it goes downhill, if you start feeling triggered or you feel really upset, how can you take yourself out of that situation without being rude and without being disrespectful in the social situation? So self-preservation is about taking care of yourself and your mental health, and it's actually really necessary. It's necessary all the time, but especially if you're putting yourself into a social situation and a family dynamic that can be really toxic and really difficult to handle. If you do all these things and you still feel triggered and you still feel like it's difficult to handle these situations, you can choose whether to put yourself in these situations or not. So you could say, yes, I'm going to this family situation, I'm going to this Christmas, or I'm going to a wedding, or I'm going to a birthday party of someone in your family. And if you know that someone like that is going to be there who is toxic or very challenging, you can make that decision whether you go or not. So it obviously depends on who else is in the situation. So you might be going to your mum's birthday and one of your siblings or a cousin or a family member is like that, and you choose to go to your mum's birthday because she's your mum and you love her and you want to celebrate with her. But then you look at how can you deal with that other person that's going to be there. It might be that you actually say, I can't do this and I can't put myself in this situation. And that's okay. And it depends on how long you've been dealing with this. It depends on how you're being triggered, if you can work on your triggers and be calmer in that situation or not. And what I would say is it's about making sure that you know you've done all you can in that situation. You've handled yourself with dignity and respect, and you've taken part in that and made sure that you are doing all you can to make the situation better. But if it's not working, you really need to think about what you need to do for yourself. So make other plans. There's no obligation to spend time with people who devalue or disrespect you. If you've tried and you've reached out and you've tried to work things out and you're still getting that response from that person and they don't want to change, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't change that other person. But what you can do is you can take yourself out of that situation and make your own memories, make your own situations, make your own happiness at that time of year. If it's Christmas, New Year, if it's a family situation, you can maybe decide to spend time with that person by themselves and not be at a family gathering, and that's actually okay. It's about preserving your peace and working on what you can control in the situation and making sure that you are safe and not being triggered. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any comments about your own experiences, please put them in the comments. You never know who it will help. And if you have any advice on how to deal with these situations, how to preserve your peace in these situations, and how to deal with toxic relatives, then please put that in the comments as well. It's good to learn from other people and other people's experiences. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.